Meet 18-year-old Yunus Nsubuga. Yunus is a metal fabrication worker in Ndese, an upcoming small town in central Uganda. But Yunus isn't your ordinary young man who happened to learn the skill of fabricating and welding metal. Yunus and 2 of his siblings were born deaf and mute. Had it not been for a chance meeting, Yunus was destined to a life of destitution, neglect, and social stigma. His parents, who initially had no plans of investing resources in him, were introduced to community-based rehabilitation of persons with disabilities, CBR. This turned around their thinking and Yunus's fate.
Nina abaana bange abaliko obulemu basatu. Naye ng'abaana abo nasooka ne sibatwala nga kya mugaso. Ne mbalekaawo. Naye Mukama yannyamba ku kakanisa waliwo Reverandi. Najja nangaati wange ti abaana abo waliwo ekitongole ekiyamba abaana abaliko obulemu. Ne ng'ala ngamba abaana abatawulira ate bakati baliko obulemu ate basomera. Wanakati mba ndi awo Mukama we yannyambira n'andeetera bamaadamu n'olinyamba. Ne bajjira ddala eka ewange. Ne balaba ku baana. Bwe balaba abaana abo bannyonnyola ne baŋŋamba nti bayamba yeeyambe. N'olwekyo nina okukola ennyo bankwatizeeko nsomesa abaana.
Today, Yunus has a skill that is relevant to his community's huge construction boom and has enabled him to fit in.
They touch, they see, they look at it, they feel it, that's why they are able. The moment he sees once, and you have been seeing him. You instruct him once, he sees what you are saying, the numbers, he gets them himself. After measuring, he begins work.
Kayaja village in central Uganda. Parents of children with disabilities have set up a modest center to provide knowledge and skills for their children. These are children that cannot be accepted into regular schools, including those run by the government. The center acts as a school and also as a daycare center for these children.
Our family members.
This is a typical CBR initiative initiated by the people of this village who saw that they had a need, and the need was that they have children with disabilities who ordinarily may not succeed accessing schooling in an ordinary school.
The Winfred Taylor Center in Mukono town in central Uganda. It is a former chicken house squeezed in this limited space. It was set up by the Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Mary to address the growing problem of disabled children around Mukono district and how to support and provide them with skills and education. Despite the cramped conditions, this is a special education haven for scores of children with disabilities who cannot find places in regular primary schools.
We were involved in different activities earlier on, like livelihoods and others, but as we did our baseline surveys, there came up a need in the community. Most of the parents asked us that really their greatest need in the community was their children with special needs who are locked up in houses.
One of the children, and the reason it was set up in the first place, is Mark. He is an 8-year-old who was born with cerebral palsy. Mark's life has been turned around since he enrolled at the center, acquiring social skills in the process. He was previously isolated and unable to engage socially with his age mates. Today, Mark is accepted in his neighborhood and has made many friends around. To get this far, Mark has to travel a long distance by passing many schools to get to the Margaret Taylor Center in Mukono.
Amasomero gaitako mangi kubanga ova wano n'ogenda paka Seeta waliwo amasomero mangi then ate ove Seeta ogende paka Mukono kitegeeza distance mpanvu ate n'amasomero mangi nnyo. Kati esseeta awo waliwo essomero ery'abaana era abaliko obulemu. Naye lya bbeeyi nnyo ate nze sisobola kulisasula. Basasula ssente nnyingi. Kyova olaba agendawa emukono bano ba sisters bo batuyambakoko kuba tusasulayokko ssente ensaamusaamu.
The initial focus of the Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Mary was helping vulnerable populations to improve their well-being and welfare by enhancing their livelihoods and ability to generate sufficient income. The baseline survey that formed the basis of this program revealed that many parents among the target population had a huge problem of children with disability that affected their livelihoods. Thus, the center makes efforts to improve the livelihoods of their mothers with skills such as tailoring and crafts making.
These sisters have helped me with so many things. These are the things which they have helped me: tailoring, rearing, art craft, and others.
These examples demonstrate how community-based rehabilitation can empower and enable the inclusion of persons with disabilities that would otherwise have been shunned and stigmatized. In Africa, CBR, as it is popularly known, was first tried out in Uganda.
It was realized that there are some category of people who may not be receiving health services, and mostly these were the persons with disabilities. And that time, the focus was on people who had movement problems, people who could not walk. And when you look at the first CBR activities under the World Health Organization, it was mainly taking services for people who could not walk, to receive treatment from their homes, from the communities.
It is now widely accepted and recognized as an important strategy for the inclusive provision of basic social services and the process of development right up to the grassroots.
Community-based rehabilitation program is the Uganda government strategy on ensuring inclusion and participation of persons with disabilities in the development process. And because of its importance, the government developed the National Policy on Disability of 2006, aimed at ensuring that CBR is properly implemented amongst other programs that are aimed at the inclusion and development of persons with disabilities. And there is also the Persons with Disabilities Act of 2006, which is currently being also revised or amended. And Uganda ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2008 with its option protocol. And in there, CBR is emphasized as one of the ways through which persons with disabilities can be included, where equalization of opportunities on employment can be ensured.
15% of the population of any given country are persons with disability, according to the World Health Organization. A significant population that cannot be ignored. Community-based rehabilitation is hinged on 5 pillars: health for medical rehabilitation, education for skills and knowledge, livelihoods for incomes to support the PWDs and their families, social interaction for inclusion of PWDs in their communities, and empowerment of persons with disabilities.
All community-based rehabilitation is a package of interventions: health, education, livelihood, social, and empowerment that can be used to rehabilitate and empower people with disabilities and their families to function optimally within their community. It is a tool for inclusive development.
The result was the birth of the Community-Based Rehabilitation Africa Network, CAN, following the first CBR Africa conference at Chambogo University in Uganda in 2001.
Around 2001, the Uganda National Institute of Special Needs Education, together with other partners like Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Local Government, the business sector, and also Combra. We have a sister organization called Combra in the sector. They thought there was need to share, to take stock of what had been achieved in the area of CBR in Uganda, but also in Africa. So we organized the first community-based rehabilitation conference that was held here in Uganda. And that's the one that saw the formation of CAN.
CBR CAN was the result of the need for better information sharing, exchange of experiences and best practices amongst CBR practitioners in Africa.
It is a network of organizations working in Africa, and it provides a platform for sharing of information, exchange of best practice in delivery of service for people with disabilities.
From the outset, CAN has been funded by the CP Trust through the Norwegian Association for Disability. The World Health Organization has also chipped in with its support.
CBR Africa Network has been funded by one donor, a gentleman called Chris Brewer in the UK, and he's been funding CAN since 2001. And how that started was the very first executive director, Professor Sally Hartley, contacted him and persuaded him to start funding and supporting CAN. Has done that faithfully over the years. But also he channels the funds through Norwegian Association for Disabled, and that's NADS. And it basically provides financial support, managerial support, and technical support. That has also provided some additional funding to support CAN activities. And that has worked very well for CAN. But also WHO has come in periodically to support CAN with respect to conferences. For example, the last 5th conference, WHO gave some funding to support that conference.
Since its formation in 2001, CAN has made significant strides and built a body of knowledge and identified key practitioners of CBR right down to the smallest village.
We've had quite a number of conferences. Our first conference was here in Chamgo University, and that led to the development of the CBR Africa Network. We had our first conference in 2001. The second conference was in Malawi in 2004. Then we had a third conference in South Africa, Johannesburg, in 2007. And in the 2010 CBR conference in Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria, we launched the CBR guidelines, a piece of work that had taken quite a number of years and had had great contribution from the CBR Africa Network. These are guidelines which have been disseminated to the rest of the world to inform implementation of CBR programs to improve the lives of persons with disabilities. We recently had one in Nairobi in 2015, and we're hoping to have another conference in 2018.
CAN has also spawned regional networks in Asia and Latin America. It also led to the CBR Global Convention. With each conference, a new body of knowledge, information and experiences are exchanged. To keep them for posterity, a book is developed after each conference for future reference.
After each of these conferences, we always have publications. And in these publications, we present all the proceedings that take place throughout the conference.
Today, over 300 organizations are now subscribed to CAN.
According to CBR in Cameroon, this year we have celebrated 3 decades of CBR implementation in Cameroon. CBR has started as a strategy since the 1980s, and by this time we have started to train people about what is CBR and how it can impact the quality of life of persons with disabilities in Cameroon. And later on we have supported some projects and some organizations to design CBR intervention and CBR project all over the country. And right now we have about many different CBR projects implementing this strategy all over the country.
Kenya has embraced that CBR is one of the best ways to integrate disability within the development agenda. And our Vision 2030 is very clear on the issue of disability, which basically focuses on the sustainable development goals for the year 2030. So we expect that all of us will embrace the CBR as an inclusive development to focus on persons with disability integrated within the development agenda, not as a parallel component, but as an issue which is all inclusive for persons with disabilities.
CBR exists in Burkina Faso. CBR is also a strategy within the national strategy of promotion of rights of people with disability at the government level. And also CBR is carried by civilian society organizations.
CAN has also developed useful guidelines that now provide a standard approach to CBR across the globe.
So we're beginning to promote the WHO CBR guideline and say, look, here's a tool you can use. Yes, you're doing a lot for people with disability, but there's a tool here, the CBR guideline. If you use it, adopt it, you don't have to probably reinvent the wheel, but you can re-energize whatever you're doing. So with those two things also, we can move very far in promoting CBR in Africa.
But despite these milestones, there are still challenges.
CAN, one of the things we've had challenges with the CAN is the fact that we coordinate and share the various programs of CAN, or rather of CBR, via the internet. That's our main thrust, main platform. Now the challenge with that is that people don't have access to the internet, either because they have no devices to receive the internet, or they don't have money to buy the necessary MBs, or they don't have the time to spend time on the internet. The other challenge is also the reading culture. What we post on the internet are books, articles, manuals. These are quite voluminous. They require someone to spend time reading them. The reading culture in Africa is very low, so that has been a challenge in terms of promoting CBR. The other challenge, of course, is funding to support that superstructure, either in terms of hosting the website or in terms of promoting through the website, through the conferences or writing workshops. They require some funding, extra funding, that will make sure that people go out there and read or they access these materials, or even providing forums for people to come in together. One of the things we've wanted to establish is national networks, CBR networks. That require money. For people to come together, that requires money. So it's been a bit of a challenge. And each country also, you want each nation to be able to promote CBR in their own context, so that the families, the communities are able to talk about CBR. The various government structures are able to implement CBR. Now that requires funding, that requires some kind of networking in each country. I think CBR should be a household name, because that's really the essence of what we are about. Our vision is to see that everyone has provided equal opportunities for someone with a disability, and someone right from the household level, and the family beginning to embrace his child, embracing the person who has a disability, and giving them opportunity to be able to articulate their rights and know that they have rights. And then the neighbors begin to embrace this person with disability, that person belongs to them, that person can be helped, that person has an opportunity to actually excel in other faculties of their body. That's what we want to see in each and every household in Africa. Now, how does it start? It starts with these families coming together in a community and beginning to ask themselves, how can we help? In some of the communities in Uganda, they have come together and set up centers where children with disabilities learn. Now that needs to move from children with disabilities learning only in their own common place to inclusive schools. That's where it starts. So schools need to accept children with disability. Then the community at large need to come together and discuss with people with disability and incorporate them in whatever they are planning in their own community development. Now, in each country, there needs to be a national CBR network where they discuss things to do with what inhibits a person with disability to access certain rights, whether in respect to health, in respect to education, in respect to livelihood, or even just in social interaction. How can a society help people with disability interact? That's one. The second thing is that if they are legislature, how can people with disability come together in a network and begin to activate, begin to engage legislature, policies, things to do with access on so many structures, whether in the public or in the private arena. They don't have access for a person with disability. A person with disability cannot access a school, a person with disability cannot access a building, cannot go shopping, cannot go to a taxi or a bus stage, can't basically begin to interact with society and be able to explore their own potential. So we need national networks. But the other thing also we need across Africa is forums where people can share their best practices, they can encourage one another, challenge one another, and begin to look at sustainable aspects of CBR. Bigger than just Africa, we need to see a global movement whereby people begin to look at the sustainable development goals, and disability should be right up there. It shouldn't be just because health for children, health for this, health for that. It should be also health for people with disability. Sustainable development goals should be incorporating people with disability, include people with disability. They must also look at them as priorities in their own communities.
Whatever the case, CBR in Africa has come a long way thanks to CAN. More importantly, CBR has turned around the lives of thousands of persons with disability who would otherwise have been left to lead a life of destitution and poverty. It has also empowered people working with persons with disabilities to do the work effectively. As we have shown earlier, people like Yunus are now important pillars in their community, and young ones like Mark are now able to go to specialized schools to acquire knowledge and skills where they would have been denied before.